Okay, folks, any questions, please feel free to ask these questions about the property market as it stands right now across Fife while I'm in the middle of the show. I will answer them towards the end. This typically takes around 10 to 15 minutes to go through this, but this is the Fife property market update from the week beginning the 4th of February to yesterday, the 11th of February. This is looking right across the whole of the Fife market with all the estate agents as on Rightmove. In other words, how many properties are actually coming out of Rightmove versus how many properties are actually sold in the same period. And this gives us a good idea about supply and demand for the area. And we break it down into Cooper, Glenrothes, Kirkcaldy, Leven, St Andrews, East Neuk, and Dunfermline. And that then gives us a good broad range in each region where the supply and demand is for each one of them. So as I said, please feel free to ask questions if you want. More than happy to take them. Anyway, let's crack on and let's look at the property market right across. I'll share some screens. Interesting one this week. A lot of new house builds have actually been listed with the actual house builders and with estate agents, and I'll tell you what that is. And I've actually shown you with them in it and with them out of it. Now, the reason that I do that in the show with it in it and without it, when it's in this number, for example, right here, Moat Keep is actually listed in that 32 for Glenrothes here. They've listed 16 properties this week on Rightmove. But the thing is, it looks like Glenrothes has got far too many properties on, but not actually selling enough. But the reality here is, these 16 properties actually then don't go as sold on any websites later on. So they don't appear in this column. So these numbers aren't really skewed in their totals. We actually look at that without that number in there. So that should actually be done at 16, and we'll show you in a minute. The same with Kirkcaldy, I'll tell you a bit about that one in a minute, and I'll show you the different, the actual picture. It's kind of like, you know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like how the government does things. It's the way they present it in order to make it look how they would like you to see it, if that makes sense. So the raw data sometimes isn't the right data, if that makes sense to anybody out there. Okay, maybe just the statisticians and the geeky people like myself. Okay, let's look right across this, and I'll explain to you as we go. So in the Cooper area, actually 10 properties were instructed, and actually 4 sold in that area. Now, it seems there on a 1-week period, supply it's actually way outstripping demand right now. Now, it is the other way more often, because you see the East Neuk, 1 property listed, 5 actually sold. St Andrews, 7 properties listed, 10 actually sold. So demand in these areas is actually outstripping the actual supply of properties. Levenmouth, 9 versus 12, again, demand outstripping supply. Does this sound a familiar story to last year? It does a wee bit, doesn't it? Dunfermline 43 versus 37, Glenrothes 32 versus 10, and Kirkcaldy 47 versus 29. Now, it looks on the face of it, there's 149 versus 107, and that means there's another 42 properties over and above what's sold in the week actually come on, which gives the impression there's an oversupply of properties. But as I said, these are new build properties that are in this equation here. And let me show you the graph with that adjusted for the new build out. There it stands there. See the 16 for the Glenrothes area versus 10, the 34 versus 29. Now, what had happened here was 13 properties in the 34 were actually, again, new build properties, which will not end up probably in the sold column. Therefore, it's going to make these figures look, incorrect and not really factual and not a true reflection of what the property market is right now. So 120 listed overall in the week of properties to be sold, to be listed and sold on Rightmove's platform versus 107. So demand isn't outstripping supply right now. But an interesting one here, and I'll maybe flip to this. Let's remove that and bring in here is Rightmove. Is Zoopla. I often show people the Zoopla one because the Zoopla one actually shows you a lot more properties because some agents can't afford to list on Rightmove. They don't have enough money to do that, whereas we do. Okay, so, and that's why you'll see a total reflection. Look at this, 885 properties for sale right across Fife. Now, a couple of months ago, that was approaching, if not just over 1,000. But see how that's now come down by 100, almost 120 properties. So almost 10% less supply than there was over a month ago. That tells me right away there is a lot of demand out there for properties, and it potentially might continue if this number begins to go down. In the boom times, we were down at 550 to 600 properties available. So, we're kind of no far off of that when you look at it. So even in the boom times and even pre-pandemic times, this number was about 1,100 to 1,200 properties available across Fife. So in terms of the supply across Fife, there's not that much in comparison. Remember as well, the key here is there's 170,000 households in Fife. There's only 885 up for sale at this point in time. How many people do you think are actually looking in Fife for a new home? Probably more than 885 at this point in time. And that's why people make decisions every single day. So roughly every single day, about 20 people in Fife make a decision to buy and sell a property. Every single day. The facts bear that, because you see that in these numbers right now. If you've got 140 properties in the week listed, that's 20 a day. 20 people a day make a decision to buy and sell a property. So even if you're sitting there right now and your property is on the market, you think, it's just no shifting as much as it should, especially with you saying that, Jim. It's like, well, the buyer isn't in the market at this point in time to pay the price point and actually for the type of property you've got. That's all it is. Tomorrow, another 20 people on average will actually make a decision to buy a house in Fife. So potentially, that's where your buyer could be. So to a degree, it is almost keeping the faith and knowing that at some point in time, in the next month or two, because that's generally how long it takes to sell a house now, you will have a buyer for your property. Now, that said, for certain properties, they go like that. I've not even done and listed a property or even done a pre-portal on a property to tell it's coming to market. I've only done a top secret in St Andrews, and immediately I've got someone from Japan actually inquiring about it already on our social media pages. So there's people out there and other buyers as well looking for these types of properties. Hatton Law House has actually had its pre-portal done just now. The demand for that property at this point in terms of activity and numbers, and it's not even on a website, is pretty overwhelming. So for the right types of properties, there'll always be demand. There'll always be a buyer there, more than likely. But don't just take it on faith in the fact that your house could be that type of property without actually speaking to a professional estate agent to know that could be the case. Now, I did say professional estate agent. Tongue in cheek sometimes. Anyway, yeah, okay, let's get back to the task at hand. So 885 properties right across Fife available for sale at this point in time. And that is including the ones that have actually come on through other agents, through the new builds as well. So when you think about and factor that out, there's not that many what we call resale properties. In other words, somebody's lived in it already and they're ready to sell it on. Outside of the new build properties available for sale right across Fife in comparison. So probably the key here is we kind of need to keep building, but we need to build affordable accommodation and we need to build social housing for people that can't afford to get on the property ladder. That's definitely a must. I'll not labour on that point enough. I can't reinforce it enough, that issue about social housing, but that's another bone of contention that I have. Anyway, let's jump on to the numbers again and jump back to our graphs, and I'll tell you a bit more about this as we go on. Okay, so that shows you right across Fife then, 120 listed and 107 under offer. Last week and January, demand was outstripping supply, if you had seen these shows. And you can watch them on the catch-ups on our YouTube TV channel, Fife Properties TV, if you want, under the weekly update shows. Okay. Let's just move on and talk about, quickly, let's talk about one of the articles that I actually spoke about, because there's a couple of articles that people would maybe like to see in here. One of the things, if your house is ready to go on the market, or if you're considering, is we did a show yesterday, or I did a show yesterday with Susan and Erin, and we talked about showing your home's heart, instantly unlocking the extra hidden value by shining a light on all your existing features in your property that you don't even actually realize that will actually get more inquiries and probably will get more people and potentially a higher offer for your property. And that's what that show was all about yesterday. Me giving away some ideas and some information, and also telling you how to do the best viewing if you're doing viewings yourself. So I actually discuss it in that show. The podcast is on here as well. The show's on here, but the article's on here. Now, the article just goes through the bare bones because that is actually the script that we have. But we actually put our own messages in there as well. Hence the reason the show and the podcast is a bit longer, round about the 50-minute mark. Okay, the other thing let's talk about as well is what's coming to market. We'll quickly go over what's sold this week as we stand. So what was sold this week? Now, why did I tell you what's sold? Well, it's not to brag, it's sold. It's actually to tell you what type of property sold, where it sold, and how much it was on at. So you'd know yourself, if you've got this type of property, then it potentially is round about the value that we're talking about what this one was on at. Okay, this is Toll Park Station Road in Buckhaven. This was on for quite a while, on and off. This was a great 2-bedroom upper apartment, and it was listed off of offers over 62,000. So that was a 2-bedroom upper apartment in the Station Road, Buckhaven area, and that's what the price point is, round about the 62,000 mark. The next one here was in Toll Road in Cellardyke. This sold in just under 2 months. So see what I mean about the time to sell. Typically, last year, this would have gone in a week, probably even on a pre-portal. But remember, the amount of people looking and the demand has actually dropped quite a bit because base rates are going up. Some people have been knocked out of that audience as a result of that, because then they've taken a step back and thought, we better hang off just now. So there is people out there that are willing to do that. It will just take a wee bit longer to get that person to buy the house. This was listed at offers over 300,000. This was a 4-bedroom semi-detached house in the Toll Road area of Cellardyke. Next one it was on was White Cottage in Bonniebank. Again, took a wee bit longer to sell, but it was a plot of land, and it was listed at offers over 175,000. I've no doubt somebody's going to put a beautiful house in there, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. Or possibly they might be able to rejuvenate or completely refurbish or renovate the existing property on the plot. Okay, let's talk about what's coming to market. Quickly, I'll just jump onto this one before I jump onto that. Now, the thing that we talked about during the week, I'll just have a wee quick look at my scripts, is buy-to-let still worth it? Richard and I did this during the week. So anybody that's looking at buy-to-let and still looking at property investment, remember, property investment is still a medium to long-term investment. It is not get rich quick. It never has been get rich quick, by the way. I've been in it for 30 years, and it takes, trust me, it takes that time to get there. So we talk about that, Richard and I, about is buy-to-let still really worth it, and is it worth the risk anymore? And because of all the legislation coming in place, the rent freezes, the moratorium on evictions, we go all through that in immense detail. We talk about the average rent achieved, what the demand is for types of properties in Fife, will there be a house price crash, how that will affect landlords, what the average yield is in Fife, what the properties values were in comparison to 3 years ago in the Fife area as well, and what the drawbacks are for the Fife buy-to-let market. And also, ideally, it's probably the UK and the Scottish lettings market as well. So good article there. If you want to read that, it really takes about 3 minutes to do. If you want to listen to the podcast and the show, Richard again and myself were on there. We ran a wee bit over the hour period, but I tell you what, immense factual details. If this is a business that you're in right now, the buy-to-let property investment business, or it is one you're considering getting into, there's nothing more than us delivering a masterclass in how this is done. Remember, I've been in this for 30 years, property investing, and I'm still an active property investor and portfolio builder. And we do that for all our clients as well as our investment strategies and our lettings landlord division and property management. So we do that for them as well. And we have private Zoom sessions to talk to people so they can find out what they need to do and how they need to do it. So well worth a listen in the podcast and watch of the show. But if you're needing a quick 3 or 4 minutes, just read the script itself. It'll give you the bare bones. If you like what you read, then that's possibly what you want. You want to catch up on the podcast or the show itself. Right, let's jump on what's talking about coming soon. exciting stuff. What's coming on? So watch out for these ones. Upper Greens in Achtermurty, 2-bedroom ground floor apartment is coming on this week. Shuttlefield in Newborough, 2-bedroom detached house will be coming on. Blackdeside House in Leven, just outside Leven. That's a 6-bedroom detached house. That will be coming soon as well. Rowland Street in St Monans, 1-bedroom upper apartment. Wait till you see this place. Wow. And then the garden sits in the sun all day long. And I think, if I remember, because it was a wee while when I was out to wear that, and I was out to see it, and it's now coming back. And remember, the sun was on there all the time in this garden. It's an amazing garden for a 1-bedroom apartment. And I'm sure there is views somewhere over the rest of the houses towards the First or Fourth and that, and across the Leith. But you'll see that this week because I'll be doing a pre-portal on it soon. Let me just quickly look at my diary, actually, and I'll tell you where I'm going to do that. I'm just going to look at my phone, and I'll tell you when I'm doing that. Pre-portal. Here we go. It will be 11 o'clock on Wednesday. 11 o'clock Wednesday, pre-portal. I'll be doing 1-bedroom apartment in Rowland Street in St Monans. Now, perfect first-time buyer property. So watch out for that one. If you are interested in these properties that I've spoken about right now, don't wait. There's still people jumping in before you and getting a chance before you. We have cash buyers jumping in for Hatton Law House right now in a pre-portal. This might even be gone before it gets to our website. So you need to be quick when you're looking for your ideal property. Do not sit. You remember the expression? You snooze, you lose. Completed. One completed this week, actually. Handed the keys over for Kitlands in Balcorney Road in Crail. This was a 4-bedroom detached property, and it's actually sold for, I can tell you how much it's sold for. It's sold for 30,000 more over the home report value, which represented 6% more over the home report, a grand total of £530,000. A 4-bedroom detached property. I tell you what, it was beautiful. It was actually overlooking, even had its own swimming pool and sauna. And it was on a fantastic piece of ground with its own even wee pond in there as well, and amazing views over the countryside and the fields. Anyway, let's just talk about a few things before we wrap up here. We are Wealth Creation Show tomorrow. Watch out for that one. I will still be talking about how I lost my first million. And the last 2 episodes were a big eye opener. But I talk about that more or less because I'm just trying to tell people and educate people on the fact that don't make the mistakes I've made. Because I'll guarantee you, if you've done what I did, then you'll just have the same results. And you certainly don't want to lose a substantial amount of money. So this is why I run these shows, in order to educate other people to the things that didn't work for me. And hopefully you won't do them and you will adapt them, and something else will work for you, which will work. But I actually tell people what didn't work for me, but I tell them what would have worked for me and what did work for me later on. So it's a good educational system for wealth creation. So we're talking about that tomorrow, Richard and I, at 12:30. So tune into that when you can. You can catch up on the podcast or watch the show later on. There is no script for that show. This is right off the top of my head, based on my journals I've kept over the years for something like this. I'll get around to writing the book at some point in time. I'm in the first 4 chapters in. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching the show. If you've got any questions later on, please feel free to ask them. You can message us direct if you don't want to put them in the comments. Message us direct and I'll pick up the message from there. Or you can contact us on any of the numbers for the offices. Ideally, probably 01333 421 774, 0301 334 654221, or 01592 75 2000. And until next time, guys, I'm Jim Parker for Fife Properties.